Thank you for tuning in to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, where we discuss the latest news, rumors, and games of the NFL and college football. As always, I'm Jeremiah.
And I'm Anthony.
And we are back again for another action-packed show for you guys today. It is 8:30-ish, around that time here in Northern California. It is April 12th, 2017. I remember this time last year, Anthony, I think it was around the same time I barely started here.
Mm-hmm.
We're close to the 1-year anniversary show.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, and I can't believe it's almost been a whole year. Well, we have a lot to talk about today. Before we start, though, I wanted to ask Anthony. We had Tony Romo being honored as a Maverick yesterday for the Dallas Mavericks. We had Gronkowski and WWE again. Wow! So we're gonna talk about all those things at the end of the show. But first, we're gonna talk about the Cleveland Browns.
We talk about the Cleveland Browns a decent amount.
Yeah, we do. I actually talked about them yesterday, on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I was discussing how, Myles Garrett, he said that he will punish the Browns if they pass on him. Well, now it looks like they might.
That's a very nice thing to say, by the way. Like, I'll punish the Browns if they don't draft me. They're going to punish themselves. Like, it's like you don't really have to contribute to that. That's like basically tripping a guy in a wheelchair. Like, he's already kind of hurt. Like, you don't really got to do that much. Now you're just kind of piling on. Like, what are you doing? Like, don't do that. That's not nice.
Tripping the guy in the wheelchair.
Oh yeah, or you just I guess you can't really trip him. I guess you're just basically doing the thing on Big Daddy where you just put a stick in front of him and then he trips. But the Browns, right? So now there's the thing with the Browns where they basically don't know if they're going to take Myles Garrett. Maybe they take Mitchell Trubisky. They're trying to figure out what to do, which could be a couple of different things. It's either A, they really like a quarterback, or B, they just don't like either of them that much. They're just kind of dangling stuff out there hey, we have the number 1 overall pick. Who wants the number 1 overall pick? Somebody, trade for us. That way we can get even more picks because they have 11 or something like that picks right now. So maybe they're trying to get to 13 or 14 just so that way they can totally make it a law of averages thing to where it's just okay, we're going to take 15 people. By law of averages, one of them has to be a superstar. No, if we take 15 people, one of them has to be great. Not all 15 can be bad. I understand we're the Browns, but we at least had Joe Thomas, and he was amazing. And we had Joe Hayden, who's amazing. So we're just going to take some guy named Joe, and hopefully he can be the third Joe that's really good. They don't seem to fully know what they're doing as far as who they're going to take or what's going to be the thing. And, my favorite part of this whole thing is now Myles Garrett, is kind of he might be the number 1 pick, he might not be. But Mitchell Trubisky, all of a sudden, from when Mel Kiper and all of them did their, mock draft 1.0, way, way, way long ago, they had him, as a mid to late first-round pick, right? Trubisky was he had a good season in North Carolina, but I don't know if he's a first-round pick, but we're going to put it in here because he's a quarterback, right? And you had the thing with Mitchell Trubisky and Deshaun Watson, people that were kind of late first-round picks. Well, now slowly as the draft comes along, teams need a quarterback, and they're desperate. They're basically the guy that hasn't gotten laid in a little while, and he just wants a girl. Teams just want a quarterback. That's what they want. They don't care if they're good. They don't care if they're bad. They just want one of the next to them so that way they can feel better about themselves. So now Trubisky's all the way up. Deshaun Watson's going to be all the way up in the top 5 because either the Jets, if they trade up past 6, or if the, not the Bears, I guess, because they got a quarterback technically. They got through a free agency. But, yeah, there's going to be some team in the top 5 that either the Niners want a quarterback or some team trades up. So now these 2 quarterbacks are going to be in the top 5 because Jared Goff was the number 1 overall pick. And God knows if he's good or not. But the quarterback at least gives you hope. So now they're going to basically be paid very handsomely just because they're in a position that's really valuable, even if you're not that good.
Yeah, and the fact that the Browns haven't even made up their minds of the number 1 overall selection, which is, to be fair, it is their decision. But, when you see Myles Garrett and what the show he put on at the Combine, his pro day.
Right.
I think he's the clear number 1 overall pick. And I get, like, because, if Myles Garrett does get drafted on the Browns, you can see the potential. The potential can be high. He can be a game changer for the Cleveland Browns franchise and the defense. But when you have a quarterback and, someone like Mitch Trubisky and he plays all to his full potential.
Right.
That's a franchise quarterback. So I get that why they're contemplating on that. But, I said this plenty of times. The Browns cannot afford to miss on this draft. They have two first round picks. You can get a quarterback at number 12. And I don't even think Mr. Trubisky is even the best quarterback at all.
Well, no one knows who's good with the quarterback. Like, even Deshaun Kaiser, his own coach, which is kind of a dick move, but, like, his own coach was basically just like, yeah, he's not that good.
Yeah, I know.
He's, like, why? Like, I understand, like, I didn't understand it when Pete Carroll did it to Mark Sanchez when he basically said Sanchez, like, yeah, no, he probably should have come back. No, he was right, but at the same time, like, you're not helping out your guy. Like, you're not doing a good job of, like, making other people want to play for you because, like, you're going to call out the quarterback that helped you out, that did good things for you, and then once he leaves, you're just like, yeah, well, he probably should have stayed. He's not going to be that good. Don't draft him high. Because now Kaiser might be a second-round pick, which is millions of dollars being lost. Literally millions of dollars that he can't get back. Like, he might be good and get a big contract later on, but, like, that's a lot of money you're losing out on. And like you said, maybe Watson's the best, maybe Kaiser's the best, maybe Trubisky's the best. Like, who knows who the best quarterback in the draft is, but none of them are those guys that's just like, oh, yeah, him, take him. Like how Andrew Luck was like, oh, yeah, him, take him. Like, we'll figure out the rest. Like, the Colts still don't know what they're doing outside of Andrew Luck. All they know is they have Andrew Luck, and they basically think of him as, like, the cheat code. They just haven't actually figured out how to play the game outside of that because all they have is really him, T.Y. Hilton, and 97-year-old Frank Gore.
Yeah. The Colts don't even know how to play the game. That's why they should, ask Triple H to come over and develop that team. I'm kidding. But, we talked about the Browns a lot, what they should do. I have to say, Mr. Trubisky may not even be there at number 12 because, the 49ers might have some interest. The 49ers have a lot of interest in Leonard Fournette recently, too, in the report. So we don't know what they're going to do. But Cleveland already has 3 quarterbacks on the roster who are 26 years old or younger, and that is Cody Kessler, who's going to be 23.
He stinks.
Kevin Hogan.
He stinks.
And, Brock Osweiler.
He stinks.
So they got these 3 gentlemen here on the roster currently.
None of them are good.
Yeah, and if you think that Mitch Trubisky is going to be your guy for the next 10 years, you got to be really sure about this, Cleveland. If you think...
Well, there's also other things that we haven't discussed, at least not recently. Like, you got the chance of taking Trubisky and everything else like that at 12 if he's available. It probably won't be because the 2 top ones everyone talks about in Watson and Trubisky are probably going to be gone in the top 10. Like, I would put good money on
I think Watson is going to be drafted at number 6 by the Jets.
Worst case scenario.
Yeah.
If some team doesn't trade. Because they're going to be gone in the top 10. Like, I'm almost willing to say that as a fact that they're both going to be gone in the top 10. But
and I think the Bills can get a quarterback too.
Sure.
Yeah.
And there's also the situation with the 12th overall pick, plus other stuff probably, to where maybe the Patriots are just like, yeah, fine, all right, you can have Garoppolo. Like, that's still in play. Like, Romo retired and everything else, but there's still a situation where we don't know fully what's going to happen with Garoppolo. We don't even really know what's going to happen with Jay Cutler, right? Like, maybe he retires, maybe he comes in. Like, there's still a lot of stuff, like, in play as far as quarterbacks go, potentially for the Cleveland Browns. I just don't know, like, we all say these things like, oh, Myles Garrett's the best player in the draft. Don't lie to me right now. Like, right here. Look me in the eye. Right here. You and I. Right here. Did you watch him at Texas A&M? No. You did not.
Like a full game?
Yeah. Like, did you watch, like, games, plural, of, like, Myles Garrett play, or did you just watch YouTube?
Oh, okay. I'll watch YouTube.
100%.
Yeah.
No,
that's what everyone does.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like, here's the thing. Like, what we know, and that's why I actually think the best part of Mel Kiper's big board, or McShay, or whoever, like, you want to say does this, Mike Mayock, whoever, like, the best thing about it isn't the fact that you take it seriously, like, because don't take it like, oh, he said he was going to go 5 and he went 12. Okay, fine, like, whatever. The point is, it helps you know who these people are. Like, if that mock draft never came up, I would have no idea who Myles Garrett is. I would know who Deshaun Watson is because I watched him play the national title. But if all we did was go off the people who did well in like a title game, Matt Leinart would have been the number 1 overall pick, and he stunk when he got to the pros. So you need these other people who kind of like research this stuff and say like, oh yeah, Carson Wentz, who played in like South Dakota State or whatever the college was that he was at.
It was North Dakota State.
Whatever. No offense.
Don't disrespect that, man.
That's fine.
Hey, FCS, that's really tough football out there too, man.
But like, no one would have known if he was good or not, and now he might be a good quarterback. Joe Flacco was in Delaware. Like, no one like would have paid attention to that. I'm talking like us.
And you got Jimmy Garoppolo coming out Eastern Illinois, as well as Tony Romo.
Yeah,
he came out of there too. So these are guys that came out of FCS Division II schools.
Oh, yeah, no, some of the best players of all time have come from, like, really, really small schools. Like, people like Brett Favre. Like, Brett Favre came out of, like,
Southern
Mississippi.
Yeah.
Even Jerry Rice came out of small. So, like,
yeah, he came out of Mississippi Valley State, I think.
So, I mean,
and
like.
And then you got Terrell Owens, Tennessee, Chattanooga.
Right. So, I mean, like, people have come from, like, really small colleges that have been amazing. So, but I'm saying, like, for us, like, Mitchell Trubisky, I think I heard his name once or twice because I followed the University of Miami, and they played North Carolina, so, like, I heard his name before, and, he looked pretty good, but, like, to be, like, a top 5 pick, or maybe even the number 1 overall pick, no, like, I would have no idea about that. Like, these mock drafts are good enough to where it's, like, they tell you who these people are, they tell you who the best offensive lineman is, so that way you get excited, being a Dolphins fan myself, it's like, we got Laramie Tunsil. I had no idea who he was when he was in Ole Miss. Like, I understand the people are good over in Alabama because they win national titles and their defense is always great. But, like, who is their offensive lineman? Like, I don't know who that is. But, like, the mock drafts make us believe that we know what we're doing. And we can say, like, they're an idiot for not taking Myles Garrett when, 3 years ago when it was Jadeveon Clowney and Khalil Mack, everyone was saying, you got to take Jadeveon Clowney. And he's turned out to be really good. But also Khalil Mack at 5, people were saying, like, maybe take him. And people were like, no, you can't take him number 1 overall. Well, he made an all-pro in 2 positions. Like, that's really
And not only
impressive.
that, Jadeveon Clowney, he's been hurt until, this past year. So, we really don't know how these guys are going to perform. Who knows? Maybe Myles Garrett is a disappointment. Who knows?
Let's be 100% honest. None of us know what we're doing. We're just trying to guess and trying to be the best guessers that we possibly can.
Yeah, to be fair, we are. But before we go, who do you think is the best quarterback in this year's draft? Just name someone.
I mean, I liked Watson just because I liked what he did against a really good defense in Alabama, right? Like, he did really well against the best defense you could probably face in college, and he came back and won the game. Like, that's impressive enough on its face. Like, yeah, maybe he has flaws. Like, everyone in this draft has flaws. Like, no one, even Andrew Luck coming in had flaws. Like, everyone's got something to where it's like, that's a weakness. You probably need to fix that. That doesn't mean they won't be able to fix it when they come in the draft. Like, Montana might be the best quarterback of all time. Dude had flaws coming out of Notre Dame.
Not only that, he was a 3rd-round pick.
Also, Dan Marino, flaws. Couldn't run. John Elway didn't do a lot of, like, setting records as far as, like, passing when he first got into the league. Kind of was like a 55% passer completion. So, like, he had flaws as well, even though he's kind of like the mesh of everything you want in a quarterback. Like, yeah, he has flaws for Watson. Cool, great. But I still saw what he did and think he probably is the best coming out.
Yeah, my favorite quarterback, well, I do like Watson. I actually do like Patrick Mahomes. I think if he's in the right system, he can develop into a really good.
Yeah, you talked about him a decent amount. You like that dude, yeah.
Yeah, I think he can develop into a really good pocket passer. I think if Mitch Trubisky, if he goes to the right team and sits behind a veteran for a couple years, I think he can be really good. I like Trubisky on the Saints. I like him on the Cardinals. Deshaun Kaiser, I think I kind of put him in the same boat as Trubisky. If he goes to the right team, the right scheme, and doesn't have to play right away, I think he can be good. I like Brad Kaya of Miami. I like him. You don't like him?
No, you don't.
Why not? How come I can't like him?
Well, you can like whoever you want. That's fine. So I didn't follow the University of Miami like amazingly close or whatever else like that. and I just said, like, everyone's got flaws, that dude's got a lot of flaws. Like, that's not the same thing. Like, following Miami like I did, like, he had some really good games. He also had games where he was so bad, man. Like, he had really good games, but he also, like, had situations where it, like, didn't look like he was a first-round pick or anywhere near a first-round pick or second or third. Like, he probably should have gone back to Miami for a year to, like, finish everything out. Like, he's got talent, don't get me wrong. It's not like he's, like, total crap, but he's got some, he's got
don't get me wrong, and I get that. I don't think he's going to be a first-round, second-round pick. I don't think he's going to be a starter right away, but I think he has the most potential out of any of these quarterbacks. I kind of see a Derek Carr in him a little bit. A little bit. Remember, Derek Carr, there's a lot of questions about him, and look at him now. He's one of the best young quarterbacks in the game.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to take our first break, and when we get back, and Anthony really wanted to talk about this, we're going to discuss the arm wrestling tournaments in Vegas and the NFL finding the players that were involved in this event. So we will discuss that when we return to Going to Meet Concepts Football Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome back to Going to Meet Concepts Football Podcast. And, well, this was one of the big stories over the past weekend in the NFL. And there was a group of players that are currently playing or now retired that was involved in an arm wrestling tournament in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand. Well, it looks like the NFL is going to fine that group of players that attended that event or participated in the event at Las Vegas. So several players took part in this quote-unquote the Pro Football Arm Wrestling Championships, and this will be televised on CBS. The league didn't really know about it until it actually happened. And the players that were involved in this include James Harrison, Kenny Stills, Marquette King, DeVar Bowman, and Patrick Chung, and our boy here, Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
I can't wait to hear this, man.
No.
Greg, got your popcorn, folks.
No, here's the thing. You see the NFL didn't know about it because...
because they wasn't promoted. They didn't know about it until when it actually happened.
And I imagine it got to Goodell, and Goodell's like, wait, what? What are they doing? They're arm wrestling and they can't do that. What are you gonna do? I don't I'll look into it. The funniest part of this whole thing is where did this take place?
It took place in Las Vegas.
The NFL basically decided that they're gonna play in Vegas in a few years, right? They're gonna have the Raiders go from Oakland to Las Vegas, and while on one end of it, I totally get it. The stigma of Vegas, while there still is a stigma in Vegas, you can't, with, Bovada and everything else that's online, you can't really just say, we can't acknowledge Vegas. No, you acknowledge Vegas whenever you talk about the spread. Vegas is in everything. That's why fantasy football exists. You can't have it both ways. The problem is, now that it's actually in Vegas, this whole little cute arm wrestling contest, that's going to be the least of your problems in 5 years, man, because you're going to have the Raiders in Las Vegas. By the way, Marquette King plays for the Raiders, was in this whole thing. Navarro Bowman, he plays for the Niners, but that's also probably, not that far away from Vegas. It doesn't take that long to get from San Francisco to Vegas. You're going to have a lot of teams that are near Las Vegas, the Seahawks, like the Niners. Like
what about the Arizona Cardinals?
Cardinals. Like, you're going to have both L.A. teams. You know, the Rams and Chargers. That's closer than whatever San Francisco is. Like, you're going to have all these teams that are in that general area. Even the Broncos, right? All these teams are going to be super close to there, and they're going to go to Vegas. And look, man, I understand that, like, you can gamble anywhere. That's not all Vegas is. Vegas is a lot of things. Vegas is basically whatever you think of in your mind that's kind of messed up and you don't want that internet history going to. That's Vegas. That's what Vegas is.
That's
Vegas is the human embodiment of your internet browser history. Like, that is what the entire city is. Like, I understand, like, there's things you can't do in Vegas because, like, oh, prostitution's not illegal in Clark County. Cool, whatever. That doesn't mean it doesn't actually exist. Like, Vegas is... It's Miami, only on the West Coast. And maybe worse. And Miami's pretty bad. Miami, like, the whole foundation, like, the cement that is built to build up all these skyscrapers in Miami was built on cocaine. That's what it was built on. That's the foundation. That's how Miami became a thing. Vegas is built on mobsters and all the stuff that they did to create the casinos, you know, Frank Sinatra and the rest. They basically created Vegas for what it is now. Now, is it the same things it was back then? No, probably not. But at the same time, Vegas basically asks you, what would you like to do that we will give you no judgment for whatsoever? Oh, you would like to do that? Cool, we got you. Here you go. So this whole little arm wrestling thing, while it's funny to say, it's like, oh, they did this thing and they got fined for it. Cool. Give this 3 years. Let Rob Gronkowski be here for the next 3 years nonstop every year because he's going to play the Raiders because they're both in the AFC, so they're probably going to play them at least once every 4 years. If not, if the Raiders are good, they may have a game every time where it's the Patriots versus the Raiders. Or if Gronkowski becomes a free agent, where do you think he's going to go? He's going to go to Miami. He's going to go to Las Vegas. He's going to go to New Orleans. He's going to go to some place where he can party all the time on the offseason. Like, this is going to be fun, man. This is going to be something that, like, I don't think the NFL fully, like, understood what they were doing. I think they were like, yeah, cool, whatever. You can gamble anywhere. That's fine. It's Vegas. It's a big enough market. We're going to make money. It's great. Okay. Just understand now that, like, you basically, you know, allowed your kids to have a flamethrower in the house. Don't be surprised when they burn it down.
Oh, man. I don't know how to respond to that. Oh, wow.
I might have gone a little bit far saying Las Vegas is the human embodiment of the internet browser history.
No, that was funny. That was perfect. I don't know how to follow that. Wow, we're gonna take a break. I'm kidding. Nah.
No, but I'm saying like
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
But like, do you agree with me that
I can't disagree in what the best way I like to describe Vegas in a family-friendly manner.
Sure.
I'll give you the PG version because you know
we can't swear.
Because that's what we have to do here.
Sure.
And I would say Las Vegas is a combination of a few cities. Las Vegas is a combo of Miami,
mm-hmm.
New Orleans,
mm-hmm.
and Los Angeles. Because, you know, the reason why I say Los Angeles because, you know, L.A. is more like La La Land. Shout out to Emma Stone.
Right.
Hollywood and all that. Got that. And then you got the party atmosphere in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got New Orleans, which is you can legally drink in public. All that thrown into one place. You know, when you got the star power in L.A., you got the club scene in Miami, and then you got the kind of like the flaws a little bit in New Orleans and Louisiana. Put all those together, boom, you got Las Vegas. That's the best way I can explain it.
Like I said, like I think I said it right on this podcast. Like, there's 5 cities in the
No, you just said it on this podcast. Yeah,
in the U.S. that's different countries, right? There's Vegas, L.A., New Orleans, New York City, and Miami. They're all basically in the U.S. as cities, but if you go there, it's a different world. And when they become the Las Vegas Raiders in, was it 2019? I think it's when they technically first slated to be there. I am just so intrigued to see how many people get in trouble. So to be fair, people don't get in trouble that much with Miami with the Dolphins, which, you know, or New Orleans with the Saints. So, like, there actually probably is hope then. But I don't know, man. Like, you see people, like, in L.A., whether it's maybe not football, but football's been gone for about 20 years. Like, you see it in basketball, right? Like, you get people who go around L.A. and they become celebrities, right? That's kind of how it goes, right? Or if you get anywhere near the L.A. area, you become a star. Even some, like, 6 degrees of separation, like, like for basketball, for like Tristan Thompson, who plays for the Cleveland Cavaliers but dates Khloe Kardashian, who is literally the epitome of LA right now. Like, you get swallowed up in that, and I can only imagine, dude. Like,
rest in peace to Tristan Thompson's career.
Also that.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that I have a question though with this whole, not even just Vegas, right? Because fine, we can make jokes about Vegas and it's Vegas, it's funny, they're gonna get in trouble, da 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 da. Cool, fine. They're gonna have a scandal, right? At some point. Some Las Vegas thing is going to have a scandal, right? Because
Scandal, shout out to Kerry Washington.
I've never seen that show. I've heard it's good.
I haven't either.
I've never seen that show. But, okay, they're eventually going to have a Super Bowl in Las Vegas, right? That's going to go so badly. That's going to go, like, not the actual game itself. The game itself will be fine. The day of the game will be fine. But that's on a Sunday. Saturday night / Friday night, when,
or Friday morning. No, it's Friday night / Saturday morning.
Uh-huh.
There you go.
Not the people that are playing, right? Because they're going to be focused. They're going to want to get in their hotel room and go to sleep and get all that stuff. That's fine. But everybody else, like, let's say it's the Patriots, because, of course, it's going to be the Patriots, and call it the Giants, right? Let's say they have their third matchup, right? Let's say it's the Patriots and Giants again. But let's say Johnny Manziel still is floating around in the NFL for whatever team he wants to play for, and he's got enough money, he can go to the Super Bowl because we saw him go enough places beforehand. He's going to go to the Super Bowl in Las Vegas, and you think that's going to go well? I don't think it's going to go well. I think we're going to hear some Johnny Manziel. I think it's going to be a bad situation, and I'm just intrigued at this point to see what actually happens.
Wow, you were all about the chaos here.
Well, look, here's like, fine, yes, I am sort of in this chaos theory realm, but like, also like, I'm a realist in some ways, right? Because like, you can't put a team in Las Vegas and think everything's going to be hunky dory. Like, no, things are going to go sideways. People are going to get polluted. Like, it's going to be kind of a bleep show in some ways, but you just kind of got to play it out and hopefully hope for the best.
I'm going to be honest with you. I forgot what we were talking about in this segment. what was the whole thing? Oh, yeah, we're talking about the arm wrestling.
Basically, we started off with arm wrestling, just to say arm wrestling. But then we took a turn because it was just like Vegas, and Vegas is insane. And this whole little like arm wrestling thing is going to be like the least of their concerns in like 4 years.
And during the past couple of days here on this show, I said that, this story got way blown out of proportion, in my opinion. I think this is the least amount of concern that they should have with Vegas. This is probably something that doesn't really concern me at all. I forgot what it was for. I think it was for like charity or something that this was happening. Because I was reading that Navarro Bowman, he hasn't even heard anything from the league about him participating, and then he's saying hopefully the league really kind of doesn't do anything because it's for a good cause. So I'm assuming this is for charity, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So don't quote me on that. But I just like how the whole thing, my favorite part of this was Marshawn Lynch involved in this. He's not even in the league.
Yes.
He's been rumored to sign with the Raiders or the Patriots, which I think is baffling in my opinion. But, he tends to come out. And the fact that Marshawn Lynch was involved in this, it's my favorite part of the whole thing.
I do like that Marshawn Lynch is still kind of like tangentially around the NFL, just kind of like hanging around and just like, oh, yeah, he's still obviously beloved by, players like Marquette King and Navarro Bowman and people like that. And I want him to come back. I want him to play for either the Raiders or the Patriots. I don't care which one. I just want to see him back in the league. So even the fact that it's just like this little blip on the Vegas thing, I'm all about it.
Yep. So, in about 2 to 3 years, we got a lot to look forward to in Las Vegas. And I really do think, I can't wait until Vegas has a Super Bowl.
It's going to be so good and so bad.
And I can't wait till Vegas has a WrestleMania. So, the two most important events I'm looking forward to in Vegas in the next 5 years.
The WrestleMania is going to be bad.
Yeah, I can't wait. All right, we're going to take our last break here, and when we return, we're going to discuss Tony Romo dressing up as a Maverick for a day. And no, I don't mean he was a horse. He was actually part of the Dallas Mavericks team last night in their home finale. And Rob Gronkowski, he's back in the WWE for one more time. So we will discuss that when we return to Going to Meet Concepts Football Podcast.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to Going to Meet Concepts Football Podcast. And, last night, we're going to kind of talk about the NBA a little bit because it involves a former Dallas Cowboy and Tony Romo. He was in full uniform for the Dallas Mavericks and was on the bench practically the entire game against the Denver Nuggets, which was the Dallas Mavs home finale. And, when you look at Tony Romo in full uniform, I don't know, it just looks weird to me. And,
it does look weird.
And not only that, but, in warm-ups, one of the beat writers for the Mavs tweeted that he airballed a three-pointer, and then he actually made it the next attempt, but still.
The thing is, he's not terrible. You're grading on a curve with these whole things, right? He's a quarterback, not a basketball player. But he played high school basketball with Caron Butler, and I guess Caron Butler was saying that, he, wasn't a bad, probably could have gone pro if he tried, in the NBA. But I love this story. Me and my chaos, I love this story so much because it was just the best part. Actually, the whole thing was Mark Cuban, the owner of the Mavs, literally was going to play him. He was going to put him in the game, and Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, was like, "What? No, Mark, what are you? Mark, do not put him in the game, Mark. I swear to God." Because Cuban's no stranger to basically, ticking off the commissioner. He and David Stern fought for years, right? He lived to just piss off Stern. He would just do stuff, and Stern's like, "You're fine." "Okay. How much am I fined?" $1 million. "Okay. That's fine. I'll eat that," because he's a billionaire and he can eat $1 million, which is kind of an insane thing to think about. But I think literally one time he was fined $1 million for something that he did. But, I get on certain levels you can't actually start or play, I guess, Tony Romo in an NBA game, even me and my whole loving chaos, I at least understand that that's probably a bridge too far. You can't actually have people who have never played professionally just insert them into a professional. It's one thing if you do it in the minors, right? If you did it in a minor league baseball, the whole Tim Tebow thing. Minor league baseball is basically they live for the sideshow attraction, right? That's what they do. Go just Google minor league baseball promotional day or something like that. Just all the promotions that any teams have done over the last 20 years, that's what they do. But professionally, the NBA, you can't have Tony Romo out there, right? That's no good. You can have him out there next All-Star game for that celebrity game. You can do that. That'll be a lot of fun. But as far as an actual game, no, man, you can't do that. That's too far.
Yeah, you don't want to break his ankles, literally.
Right?
You don't want to do that.
If he twists his ankle, tears his ACL, or basically does anything to where it's now whatever slim possibility of him coming back is gone because of the Mavericks, oh, that's bad. You can't do that. Also, we as a collective don't like Tony Romo that much to begin with, right? We like him a little bit more now, but we gave him crap forever for being the Cowboys quarterback that couldn't get out of the first round. If he were to somehow hurt himself playing in the NBA, oh, the memes. Oh, the memes would be plentiful.
Oh, one of my favorite memes from Tony Romo as a Maverick yesterday was, have you seen the new Kendrick Lamar album cover?
Yeah.
Okay, so Kendrick Lamar, his album cover, it shows him just standing behind a red brick wall, and the title of the album is called Damn, with the period at the end. And then on the back side of the album cover, it has Kendrick Lamar kind of in the green, behind the green wall with the same word, damn, in green color. and with the track list. Well, on Twitter yesterday, I saw that The Ringer did tweet it out that picture of Tony Romo, like he was on the Kendrick Lamar album that says "Damn," and I just love the track list. If you guys haven't seen it, just Google it. It is great. You've seen this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is absolutely funny. I think the track list that's on this parody. And I just love the way that Tony Romo looks. He just looks really happy, but it looks out of place at the same time.
He looks so happy to be in a Mavericks uniform. He's like, look at what they did for me. I get to play in the NBA. Mom, I get to play.
I made it, Mom. All right, well, this is the track list on this parody. QB1, Cowboy, Jerry, Loyalty featuring Rihanna, Spinal, Humble, Dallas, Pride, God, Dak, Gritty, Scramble, Elite.
Every time I hear the word spinal, I think of Mike Tyson. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
The whole is like, I broke my back. Spinal. Like, it's every time I hear spinal, I think of that. Just because Mike Tyson's a crazy person. He might be the most crazy athlete ever in the history of sports, and that's a high bar.
And getting back to Tony Romo, the Mavs are actually selling Tony Romo T-shirts for $25 and jerseys for $85 a piece, and they also had kids jerseys for $70 a piece. They sold out at the end of the first quarter, and this is something that I also thought it was funny. I honestly think they kind of altered all the Rajon Rondo merchandise, and they just replaced Rondo's name with Romo. I kind of think that may have been a possibility.
Dude, if nothing else, Mark Cuban's an opportunist, and he was probably just like, hey, we got these old jerseys. Yeah, can we do anything to, like, tweak with them a little bit? It's like, oh, yeah, Rondo's not too far off of Romo. It's like, all right, cool, do that. How long will that take? A couple of days. Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah, they wanted to get rid of Rondo, like, any type of inventory because, his time there was just not good. But do you think that teams in the NBA or MLB will kind of, like, start doing this, so to speak, to honor, like, players? Hey, because, like, when I first heard this, I thought it was kind of weird. I was like, they're going to have him in uniform? I was like, they're going to waste a roster spot on him? And I understand that the Mavs weren't even in playoff contention. They were probably, like, one of the worst NBA teams this year.
Right.
But still, you're going to have him in uniform? Like,
the Heat retired Dan Marino's jersey.
Yeah, I know that. But
so it's not the first time that basically teams are just honoring, like, cross-promotional stuff like that. Do I think it becomes a trend? Like, it all depends who retires. Because we saw Mike Malone basically had a comment saying, because it was the Denver Nuggets playing the Dallas Mavericks. So Denver, Malone kind of was joking me saying, like, yeah, we tried to get Peyton Manning to come, but we couldn't get him. You know what I mean? Like, Mike Malone had a good time with it. And, it all depends, like, who's actually going to retire. Like, if Jay Cutler decides to retire, I don't think the Bulls are going to do anything to promote him.
They're not going to do anything.
Right? Like, you have to have, like, the actual, like, star power.
It's like saying, like, all of a sudden the Rams get good. Are they going to honor Kobe Bryant in a football jersey? Like, are they going to do that?
Dude,
no.
Everyone in LA is going to honor Kobe for something.
Honestly, I think the only way I can see it is if the Browns honor LeBron James. That type of aspect. Yeah. That's the only player I can honestly see this happening to.
Right. Or if Wade goes back to Miami and the Dolphins decide to do something like that. Like, I can see them doing that because, Dwayne Wade is as much Miami as, like, anything else if he ends up going back there. But, yeah, like, nobody else really, like, Houston, like, I don't think Harden, maybe in, like, 5-10 years if he can win, like, a title or something. But, yeah, like, LeBron's the only one I can think of that, like, cross sports, like, the Browns would honor him because, hey, what else are you going to do if you're the Browns?
Yeah, exactly. There's really not a whole lot going on. And did you hear the, I guess, like, pregame ceremonies, there were honoring Romo because he was retiring. Dirk Nowitzki, he, talked for a little bit. And then you got Tony Romo. He's all like, you know what, we're going to make the Nuggets wait 10 more minutes. God.
That's petty.
All right,
I like it.
Yeah, I know. All right. Anyway, we're going to move on here for the last story today. Gronkowski.
Gronk.
He was on Smackdown yesterday, which took place in Boston. So, of course, he was in the crowd.
I love him.
Yeah. And, of course, the guy that threw him a beer at him at WrestleMania 33 was Jinder Mahal. WWE had this whole little superstar shakeup where they kind of traded superstars to other brands because they have a split roster because it's huge. So Jinder Mahal, he was originally on Monday Night Raw. Then he made the switch to Tuesday Night Smackdown. I don't know why I call it Tuesday Night Smackdown. It's not what it's called. Gronkowski was in the arena as a fan, and Mahal, he saw Gronkowski, and then Gronk was like, you know what? You want to throw a beer at me, big boy? And then he just threw it at him.
I've always sometimes dreamed of playing in like the NFL, but for like a day, like not for like a whole year because like I'm gonna die, or like be able to just like see if I can hit a curveball from Clayton Kershaw, even though I'm gonna look stupid doing it. Like I feel like Gronkowski wants to be in pro wrestling, but like very limited amount. Like basically,
he wants to be a part timer,
right? But like super part timer, like basically come in for like WrestleMania. Like I said, that's all I care about. Get a couple of moves in WrestleMania or like Royal Rumble, get like the crowd behind me, and then, okay, cool, let's go away. Like, and he's been able to do that, which is really cool. Like, he's been able to come in and do a couple of things. The crowd loves him because it's Gronkowski and everyone seems to love him. And, it's not like anything that takes up a lot of time or like gets him hurt at all. Like, this thing, all he did was just throw some beer at somebody. And cheap little pop, everyone laughed, everything's cool. All right, keep it moving, and Gronkowski gets to kind of like stay relevant in a totally different kind of genre.
Exactly, and I was actually watching the video of Gronkowski and SmackDown last night on the WWE YouTube account, and some of the comments were like, "Man, I don't like this football guy. Like, what is he doing on this?" I'm like, "Football guy? Like, he's not just a football guy. There's a legend."
Yeah.
Nah, but like I actually would want Gronkowski to be involved in WrestleMania 34. It may not happen, but I want it to happen. I want it to happen so bad.
Well, I also want, if we're going to take cross-promotional stuff, I still want Ronda Rousey to come back, and I want Conor McGregor to be there.
I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet. I'm surprised Ronda Rousey hasn't been involved in WWE yet.
The thing is, since she was in WWE and WrestleMania was like 31, since she was in WrestleMania a few years back, she's kind of had a bad record. So she's not as hot as she was. To be fair, when Mike Tyson was in there, he had already been beaten by Buster Douglas, so he wasn't at his like apex, but he was still a popular name, which so is Ronda Rousey and so is Conor McGregor.
And speaking of cross promotion here, you got CM Punk making the transition from WWE to UFC, and that didn't go well either.
No, but that's going from a sport where your job is to protect the other person to UFC, where your job is to literally make them like concussed.
Yep, basically.
At least, or tap out.
Gotta love those cross promotions from in sports today.
Well, he doesn't seem to be going back to the first promotion. He does not seem to be going back to WWE anytime soon.
Nope, not anytime soon. All right, well, enough about wrestling and Facebooks here. If the listeners haven't turned off the podcast already, I feel like we've been talking about wrestling like a lot for the past couple of weeks.
Well, Gronk gets in there. That counts.
Yeah. So every time that we have someone in the sport of NFL, we got to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us today. We will be back tomorrow. Well, hopefully, Anthony, you'll be here. I'm kidding. No, okay. No, we'll be back tomorrow. I'm just kidding. We'll be here. And, all I can say really is my name is Jeremiah.
And I'm Anthony.
And I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in to the Guns to Me Concepts Football Podcast. You guys have a great day and have a pleasant tomorrow.